I don't start until the footage changes on my end, so that could be like, 10 seconds to 2 years. Ah, here we are.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. My name is ScrappyFan92, and with me today are Harry, Raideran, and Pedrivo.
Hi.
Yeah, we're returning to the Mortal Kombat story in your shadow, and before anything else, I made a comment about Detroit a few weeks back, and I cannot remember what I said, but I apologize for it.
What? I don't remember
this is
that at
news to me. If I was there, I blacked it out.
I have no memory of this.
Detroit?
You don't have memory of anything in Storytime, Harry.
Okay.
I mean, true, but
I can't imagine. Like, if you did mention Detroit on the last Storytime stream, I can't imagine how we got from Mortal Kombat to Detroit.
I mean, they're both pretty close.
Wait, was
they're
it
both
Detroit?
in the depths of hell. The silence is proof.
I'm talking. I just... Don't worry. It wasn't silence. I reacted audibly. Don't worry. Was it Detroit or Chicago? Some American city. I apologize for my comments.
I think it was Chicago.
Probably.
I feel like I remember something from Chicago. Not Detroit, though. Detroit feels like a city that it's okay to make fun of.
At least we're not Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit become human.
We've got Detroit become human and Dying Light stay human.
The duality of man.
God.
I'm sorry, can Spider-Man not swim in this game?
He cannot know.
Wuss.
Fringe.
So, yeah. We are reading In Your Shadow, a Mortal Kombat story by One Shot Revolt. Yeah, last time, Sub-Zero and Noob Saibot were still stuck in the Netherrealm, and the former continued to reminisce about his childhood. On his childhood? I don't know. He thought of his childhood. The two brothers met Quan Chi, and Noob is basically grounded. He can't leave, like the palace. Now, we're gonna find out what happens next. Once again, I will be reprising my role as Sub-Zero, and yeah, not narrating. This is great.
I somehow ended up having to narrate for a franchise that I don't even know anything about. This is amazing, really. Anyway.
Okay, remind me, is Scrappy the only one here who knows about Mortal Kombat lore?
I think so.
Yes.
I guess so.
I think we had a full episode of Rafa Cortex where Scrappy was talking about Mortal Kombat, I think.
That's pretty good.
Also, it was a pretty fun...
Crash Bandicoot written with K's.
Yeah, pretty much. That was a fun playthrough.
And I wasn't there to experience any of it. Crazy. Not inviting me. Wild. Anyways.
Yeah, this was a while ago.
Chapter 4. Rebellion. He came to a full stop when his passage abruptly ended. The great red heat expanse of Netherrealm stretched out before him. A long, straight drop into a furnace of bubbling lava was directly below. His teeth set against each other as he glanced around. Sheer cliff on all sides. There was the passage behind, but he had little desire to see which side Serena felt inclined to favor. Quan Chi's fortress seemed to rise out of a molten crater. The lip of the crater was on about the same level as his passage mouth, but with hundreds of yards of empty space lay between him and it. Between him and it, I guess, I don't know. It was possible he might span it with a bridge of ice, but quite apart from giving away his identity, it was unlikely he could freeze the whole distance. He might be able to scale the cliff down, but then it would be him and his ice against the magma churning below.
Damn it! Where are you, Bihan?
He glanced all around. There was still no sign of Noob Saibot. Or Saibot? How is that name pronounced? Saibot?
Noob Saibot.
Saibot, okay. A slow, unpleasant feeling was tingling at the back of his throat as he contemplated trying to get out of this realm alone.
He wouldn't leave me. It would make no sense. He needs me. He's gone through the effort to get me this far.
He gave the Lin Kuei whistle, searching for his partner's location, but did so softly, fearing to draw attention to himself. He could feel the heat getting to him again, and it collided hard with the vertigo of the drop. He backed away from the edge. A black shadow pulled on the floor beside him, and the figure leapt up from it. Kuai Lang turned abruptly.
Where?
The wraith whipped out a hand and clasped it tight at the back of his neck, jolting Kuai's head forward and cutting off his words. When he had his attention, the wraith lifted a finger to his mask for silence. Noob Saibot released him, then leaned over the drop, looking down below. Kuai cursed inwardly and rubbed the back of his neck, where 2 pressure points had been painfully gripped. The wraith motioned to him. He looked over the edge warily and squinted at where his brother indicated. There looked to be a very small, narrow ledge some way down the tower. He turned to acknowledge the wraith, but saw an already decisive look in his eyes. Kuai Lang had all of a few seconds to realize what was happening as his brother wrapped his arms around him and tugged him down into a black hole. Or black portal, not hole. Immediately, all went dark, and Kuai felt as though he were being squeezed down an impossibly thin tube. All the air left his body so that he could not even gasp for breath. He slid out and his feet hit hard rock. He reeled, and if the grip around him had not remained tight, he would have plummeted immediately off the narrow ledge he now stood on. He was breathing hard. He looked up and narrowed his eyes against the flaring light to see the passageway they had been in as a small black circle in the tower above.
Some warning next time.
He gasped quietly.
This is your warning.
The wraith hissed in his ear. Kuai's eyes widened, and he again felt the world slide to absolute blackness. The constricting, suffocating dark clamped down on all his limbs and crushed the new air from his lungs. He could feel his eyes straining at their sockets, and his brother's arms become insubstantial as shadow about him. This time, the ground beneath him shook and trembled. Noob Saibot released him at the bottom of the crater where ridged, angular, igneous rock quaked next to the roll and tumble of thick lava beside them. Kuai backed away and bent double.
You bastard.
Quiet. We're not out of here yet.
The wraith surveyed their new position. The crater rim seemed an eternity high from down there. Its shadowy auburn star stood silhouette, dark against the tiger bright orange of the sky beyond. Kuai could feel the heat rolling off the magma in thick, tangible waves. Molten gold blobs blazed in amid the black sludge of liquid rock that moved on its turgid, lazy, viscous surface. When he blinked, dark spots flashed across his vision. He summoned moisture to his hands to cool into ice. The air was so hot and dry that he felt only a soft chill against his fingers. His heart pounded. He had never not been able to summon ice. His breath came faster through his mask. He moved close to the wraith.
We need to move quickly.
He said softly.
I am aware.
Came the cold response as Noob Saibot continued calculating their exit.
I mean, very quickly.
The wraith glanced at him. Kuai felt the eyes flick over him, judging his condition and recognizing the problem. He hated their quick, empty assessment of his weakness. Noob returned to the sea of lava and resumed his study. When he turned back, he had that look in his eye again.
One moment.
Kuai Lang back.
Well, actually,
I don't know who's saying this.
Yeah, I have no clue either.
one moment, said,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, definitely.
Liu Kang from off screen.
Kuai Lang backed off. The look got colder. The wraith's shadow stalked toward them.
Can you at least tell me what you plan to?
Dark plunging gullet and the scream of true silence. He burst newborn from the womb of the shadowy portal. His feet flashed into pain, and he barely had time to register his shock and surprise as he looked down. A melting rock, liquefying in the magma, was beneath him. She was in the middle of the bubbling crater belly of lava, with only bright, hot red smashing gold and crusty burnt dark about him. The now merciful blackness took him again, relieving his scorched feet and causing his body to shudder as the breath he had not had time to take was constricted further from his lungs. This time the heat was unbearable. He felt his feet immediately blister into agony, and his vision swam to an almost instant blackness. He was jerked quickly back into consciousness as he was squeezed again through another tight tube of oily slick nothing. The rock was solid and bearable beneath him again, though he stumbled with the flaming pain still bursting in the soles of his feet. He was faintly aware that he was on the other side of the crater of lava, but all he could think of was trying to relieve the burning and pressure against his feet. He sunk against the wall and made to kneel. The wraith gripped him.
Not yet.
He said. Kwai heard something like a plea escape from his lips as he pulled away from the grasp. He struggled as the wraith's shadow pinned him from behind. They made another 2 jumps through portals, each time taking them up the further cliff of the crater. When they reached the top, Noob Saibot finally let him go. Kwai dropped to the floor and reached for his feet. The soles of his shoes had gone, revealing red, raw, blistering skin peeling and flaring, and thick with half-cauterized blood. Cauterized, yeah, whatever.
Ice.
His brother gently reminded.
I can't.
You can here. Try.
It took an extraordinary amount of will to focus and summon ice to himself. He ripped off his gloves and pressed the ice to the ruined soles of his feet. For a few seconds the burning was numbed. Then a new pain set in as the fierce cold met the lingering heat. Kwai squeezed his eyes shut as he kept the ice flowing thick. He encased his feet several inches thick and let the true numbing start. When the pain had subsided, he looked up at his brother. The wraith's eyes twitched at the corners with wincing grimaces. Kwai realized, yeah. His brother, too, was collapsed on the ground. Kwai could not see the extent of the damage to the wraith's feet, as everything internal and external seemed the same monochrome black. But he knew when his brother was hiding hurt.
Let me help you.
It must have been some injury indeed, because the wraith did not object when Kwai bent his power to freezing his souls also. When Kwai was done, he laid back on the dry red earth. He never thought he would ever be happy to be anywhere on NetherRealm soil, but right now this moment felt like one stolen from heaven and not taken from hell.
What just happened?
The wraith did not answer at first, and Kwai saw his eternally white bright eyes lid over for a long pause of peace, I guess. I've never heard that phrase used that way before.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah.
The back exit from Quan Chi's fortress.
There wasn't a back exit, there wasn't a back exit, was there?
There wasn't, but there is now.
Kwai groaned.
Ugh. What did you do to me? Feels like I have no feet.
I was looking for another half-liquefied rock to teleport onto, but there wasn't one.
So?
There's a lot of surface tension to lava.
Kwai rolled over and looked at him.
Are you joking? You teleported us into the lava?
Onto, not into. Wasn't sure it would work. Now we know.
Kwai groaned again and curled his arms over his face.
We need to keep going. We're too exposed here. I know a place we can rest that is not far.
I can't walk.
Portals it is then.
I can walk. I'm feeling much better.
5 short teleports took them to the shelter of a narrow crack in the rock face. Beyond this thin entryway, it opened into a sizable cavern. When he had stopped trying to retch his empty stomach from the teleporting, Quai glanced around.
How do you know about these places?
Every Netherrealm creature knows how to hide.
Quai looked at him, but the Wraith did not notice. It was the closest Quai had ever heard his brother come to acknowledging his vulnerability. Quai sunk against the wall. He pulled off all the immediately accessible strips of armor he could and summoned ice to drink.
We cannot stay too long. I do not know when, but Quan Chi will soon work out that I have fled the fortress.
A twinge of guilt stirred in Quai's chest. He realized he was thinking of the very much alive Serena and her mixed loyalties.
Where did you go back there? You were right across from me, then you vanished.
The Wraith gave him a slow, unimpressed stare.
I can't always come and save you, little brother.
He said coldly. Quai flared up.
We were operating perfectly smoothly until you just up and left. I thought we were working together. That's what you meant by the whistle commands, was it not?
Noob Saibot looked faintly uncomfortable.
The parallel passage to yours was not as I recalled it.
Passage parallel to Quailing.
Yeah, that's what I was... The passage parallel to yours was not as I recalled it. It had fallen away in part. I meant to backtrack, but was dragged into the chasm before me.
Quai's eyes widened.
Dragged in?
By an Oni.
The Wraith admitted.
It took some shaking to get rid of, but only one of us is going to spend time trying to relocate their head.
Right.
What about you? I trust you were able to deal with whatever waylaid you?
It was partly the phrasing and partly that latent guilt. He suddenly wished he hadn't been in such a hurry to take the hot layers off. He wanted the anonymity of the mask lying beside him and the hood he had thrown back. He tried to sound casual, looking off into the corner of the cave as he spoke.
Yes, it was no problem. I took care of it. I was just surprised when you didn't show.
Liar.
The Wraith's dead eyes burned as white flames under the deep cowl of his hood. Though Noob was slumped against the far wall, his shadow stood tall, unharmed and proud, looking down on Quai. Quai tried not to let the accusation penetrate his calm.
It's true,
He saw the blur of the shadow move and raise his fists as ice barriers before his face. It threw its weight against him, seizing his wrists. Quai wrestled against it, pulling this way and that. It jerked back and slammed his head against the wall. He blinked, and in a moment he had been flipped onto his back and pinned. Black dots swam before his eyes, and again he felt the pull of unnatural fatigue. Heat and exhaustion well up strong in him. Weird word choice. He ground his teeth into determination and forced ice through his wrists so they had began to fractal and freeze the shadow's grip. He abruptly stopped when he saw the Wraith's hungry white eyes leer down at him. Noob had crawled over to his shadow.
What happened? What have you done?
Neither of those sounded like questions from the deadened intonation. Quai felt old childhood insecurities rearing beneath his pinned ribcage. He saw the Wraith pull back a hand and automatically flinched. The back fist never came, however. He saw it ready and primed. All the strength of a calm, certain, steady, and still man who knew peace, patience, and perseverance in the face of all manner of horrors fled before that old vision.
I didn't mean to let her go.
He blurted. That stare chilled him all the way to his bones.
It just made sense. It just made sense at the time. It just made sense at the time. I think she wants to help you.
Arena?
Noob hissed in disgust.
She knew I wasn't you.
How?
She knew your style of fighting.
Did you use ice?
Kwai couldn't breathe for the hand the shadow pressed down onto his throat. Couldn't breathe for the hand the shadow... Okay, sure. Shame and guilt of failure swarmed to the surface.
I'm sorry.
He choked. The wraith roared in frustration as the shadow continued constricting Kwai's windpipe.
The one time I ever need anything from you, I give you 2 orders. No ice, no talking. Did you speak to her, Kuai Lang? No need to lie. I know the depths of your incompetence only too well.
Kwai winced and gave the most fractional nod. She received that waving back fist to the face. That waving back fist to the face. There we go.
How could I even think of doing this? How could I ever be so foolish as to trust in you to complete even the smallest and most basic?
As he trailed off, he summoned his shadow back to him and it vanished into his body, leaving Kwai Lang coughing and rolling over in the way.
This is my fault. I overstretched myself. I have played my hand too soon. I put too much reliance in the wrong places. I was foolish to trust in anything but myself.
No.
Kwai massaged his throat with one hand and with the other reached out in placation.
Please, it's not like that. I read the situation. Speaking with her. It's the best way to resolve the situation. She already knew I wasn't you.
The wraith ignored him.
My plan cannot work now. I must return quickly as I can. I must return as quickly as I can to the fortress and pray my absence has not already been noticed.
Serena will help us.
Kwai pleaded.
She won't tell Quan Chi. Please, Bihan, I didn't mean for this to happen. There was nothing else I could do. We had to trust her and keep going.
You know nothing about her.
The wraith was lit with a fury that was not just directed against him, Kwai realized.
She is a trickster by nature. She cannot help but betray those around her. She is fickle and does as she pleases.
Then she may turn against Quan Chi.
Kwai said hopefully.
I will not risk an eternity of pain on the whims of a trickster and your incompetence.
She cares for you.
He regretted that outburst. He saw his brother turn it over, lather it in sarcasm, and bowl it straight back to him.
Again, your judgment is warped by clinging emotions, foolish wishing, and pathetic dreams. You never learn, Kuai Lang. Your misplaced trust in others and your constant need to see more in those around you makes you weak. You always were the weakest of all the Lin Kuei.
And yet I am the only one still alive.
Kwai Lang's eyes were cold, though his insides wrenched to hear his brother say those words.
The coward's luck.
Call it what you will, but it saved me from the Lin Kuei. Unlike you, I put my loyalty with those I believed to be right. I defied the Grandmaster and stood with Lord Raiden and Earthrealm. I have walked out of your world of strict rules and personal power play. My allegiance is to the things I choose to care for, not out of fear, not out of a struggle for personal gain, but by choice.
Noble sentiments. Completely irrelevant, noble sentiments. You can call your illusion of choice what you will, Kuai Lang. All I care for is that you have ruined my already slim chances at pulling this off, and it's not worth the consequences for me to try now.
The odds were never good, but we can still...
You have no idea what he can do.
The cave echoed with those words. Kuai Lang had never heard such raw fear in his brother's voice before. The wraith turned away.
If he finds out.
For the first time, Kuai saw another dimension of change that being a specter had brought upon his brother. As Sub-Zero, his brother had never feared authority. Even in his days as the most upstanding, cherished member of the Lin Kuei, he had been immaculate in his etiquette, but coolly indifferent to any attempts at intimidation. The specter before Kuai seemed agitated, strained and shaken even, as if he was somehow invisibly tethered to this tormentor he had meant to put down.
I'm sorry, cut out the last part?
Oh, did it cut out for anybody else, or was it just Scrappy?
I heard everything.
Okay.
I
I
heard
just heard-
everything too.
So you didn't say tormentor he meant to put down?
Yeah, I said that.
Ugh, gosh. Fucking internet. We can do this. Let me try that again. We can do this.
Kuai Lang said firmly.
I do not want your optimism.
Noob Saibot spat.
I want reasonable chances of success before I commit to doing something unforgivable.
Contrary to your beliefs, I do not run on optimism, Bihan. I get results through determination and hard work. Stop thinking in terms of absolutes and failures for once in your life and think your way forward. We're doing this and we're not going back.
He straightened and set his expression hard. His tone fell easily into that of a grandmaster accustomed to shouldering responsibility.
Assume the worst possible scenario and come up with a counter plan. Let us say that Serena has already told Quan Chi of my presence here. My identity may be revealed, but our chances are not void. Weigh up the options and formulate the details necessary for the mission to succeed. If you would also be so kind as to try and find me something to eat, I'm going to sleep. When I wake up, I expect you to be back to your usual insufferably imperious self, giving me orders and not whining about the odds of success. Also, can you please stop hitting me and sitting on me? I'm not a child anymore. I can take your criticism to heart without the weight of your punches behind it.
Kuai promptly laid down and closed his eyes. For the first few minutes, he could do little but rein in the involuntary twitches that kept threatening to jump through his body as he readied himself at any moment to be sorely pummeled for his outburst. The punishment never came, however, and his brother was silent. Eventually, Kuai relaxed enough for all discomfort to be eaten by that otherworldly fatigue that was becoming so familiar to him in his short time in the Netherrealm. Kuai could see the glint in his eye. There was a playful spark that hinted that he was not yet done. His friend's posture was lazy, calm, and relaxed, as if testing the air for its currents and secrets. Smoke excelled at moving from soft, almost static poises into punches that landed so hard and fast they were almost invisible. Today they'd been barely evenly matched, but in the last few minutes the sun had come out and bathed the courtyard of the Lin Kuei Temple in light. This caught and shimmered in the wreaths of smoke sifting around his opponent, making it just that bit harder to keep a track of his movements. Kuai pulled his fists into a tighter guard and breathed out a long breath that cooled the air.
Careful, Tomas. I have a feeling that you're about to do something stupid because you're losing.
This is not what losing looks like, Kuai. You will know what losing looks like. You will know what losing looks like very shortly when you look up at me from the floor.
Oh my god, that's a lot of reading. Kuai kept from rolling his eyes. Smoke had once used baiting him with bad one-liners as an offensive tactic to distract him. He only ever needed that one edge over him to seize the veils of cloud about him and vanish into the air. He watched his friend carefully. His eyes lingered in different places, calculating something. He means to teleport, Kwai surmised, so I guess I could have had him read that. Oh well. He would not jump behind him. That would put the sun in his eyes. To either side then, or above. Kwai let the distance between them widen. Smoke almost subconsciously narrowed the gap back to its previous size. Kwai moved a few paces more, each time pausing to keep his sparring partner from noticing that he was being led. He saw Smoke's teeth grate together as he realized. It was too late by now, though. Kwai had positioned them both beneath the yawning branches of an old cedar that leaned out over the courtyard. Smoke would not risk teleporting above with the obstruction. Kwai was aware of footsteps sounding in the courtyard that stopped nearby. He caught Smoke's eye, and they held a fractional truce as they both turned to glance at the intrusion. Some way off, but with attention definitely directed their way, I guess, was the Grandmaster himself, flanked on either side by Sub-Zero and Sector. Kwai's heart sank. He saw Smoke stiffen as well. Some of the ease went out of his friend's movement. His muscles were more clenched, his face more determined, his thoughts more predictable. In that moment, Kwai knew exactly what Smoke would do. He knew it so well that he faked a second of distraction to bait the move. Smoke vanished into the air. A shimmer of smoke winked in his wake. With the full force of his turning torso, Kwai swung his guard, clearing the space between and sending his fist a full quarter turn to his right. He caught Smoke just as he reappeared and clocked him straight in the temple. Smoke reeled and stumbled back. Kwai was in his prime here. The close combat favored him, and he had Smoke on the back foot, still disoriented. He drove his second punch up into Smoke's chin, jolting his head back and disrupting his attempt to cling for balance. As he pulled his fist back to guard, he lashed out with his other in a solid back fist that turned Thomas a full circle. One more punch was all that was needed to topple him. Kwai instead pulled his fist back and charged it with ice. No one wanted to look bad in front of the Grandmaster. What Kwai was doing was extremely risky. If it was discovered he helped his opponent in a fight, the punishment would be severe, to say the least.
I need to be more careful. Swimming definitely.
Something impressive will distract the Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster had taken a special delight in the recent success of Kwai's brother, Sub-Zero. Everyone in the temple had heard tales of the assassin's extraordinary versatility and brutal efficiency. The innovative way in which he married his martial prowess and ability to wield ice had seen him rise to become the Grandmaster's favorite. It was expected that Kwai would follow these high standards, learning his brother's techniques and stepping up to become another great assassin in the Grandmaster's collection. Oh my gosh. Kwai froze Smoke's feet to the ground just as the gray-clad assassin regained his balance. Smoke swore as he saw Kwai come hurtling for him. Smoke put his palms together and focused all his energy down into them. His hands began to vibrate and heat the air. The hot air melted enough of the ice to free him, but he was still not ready for the bulk of Kwai's weight that came through him. He took a shoulder straight to the stomach, but managed to parry the fist as it pivoted at the elbow and came up to his face. Smoke took the fist, stepped back, and redirected it, turning Kwai's body so that his back was to him. Kwai completed a full circle and connected his opposite elbow to Smoke's skull. Smoke staggered back, just before Kwai came in for another onslaught. Smoke tightened his fists against his chest and sent energy vibrating so fast through his body that Kwai's punch deflected back, and he had to step away to keep upright. In the corner of his eye, Kwai saw Smoke leaped at the opportunity. Kwai darted back, freezing a layer over his body that remained behind as he leapt out of the way. Smoke hit the clone of ice in Kwai's place, and immediately the ice fractals splintered up his knuckles, over his arm, and encased his body. Kwai drop-kicked him and pinned him as the ice shattered.
Seed.
he commanded. Smoke nodded. Kwai stepped back, sighed, and offered a hand to his friend to get up. Smoke indicated to the observers with his eyes, and Kwai hastily withdrew his hand. Smoke stood slowly. The two of them stood side by side and turned to face the Grand Master. They brought their fists to their open palms and bowed low to him. When they unfolded, the Grand Master had moved on. Smoke exhaled a loud sigh.
I hate when they do that.
Hush.
Kwai said softly.
Someone might hear.
Why'd they have to sneak up on a guy like that? Can't anyone get a peaceful moment of fighting in these days?
Kwai rolled his eyes.
Also, I can't believe you froze me solid. Unbelievably unfair.
It's not unfair to use the tools I have, Thomas.
Yeah, Richard
Thomas.
is pronounced. Who knows? Not us. We don't play Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
But I have
I don't know any. I don't know any of these characters.
Yeah, neither do I. I didn't even know there were two Sub-Zeros first. But I have an excellent mind and intellect that I deliberately don't use against you, just so that you can stand a chance against me.
You're very predictable when you're nervous, by the way. You should work on that. Saw your teleport coming a mile off.
Says the guy who defaults to flashy ice moves whenever Bihan's watching.
What? I do not. That was... I did that... Ugh.
1 second, people are yelling at each other.
Kuai Liang threw up his arms in exasperation. You are so infuriating, Tomas. That is not what...
You are definitely the easiest person to wind up.
Shut up. Get out of here.
Want to head up to the kitchen and see if there's any leftover food?
Do you only think of food?
Food, bed, and irritating tundra.
Smoke dodged the punch that Kuai threw at him.
Kuai Lang?
Oh, he
Yeah, this is Bihan.
beyond.
I had to look ahead.
They both stopped still at that and looked at one another. Smoke put a hand on Kwai's shoulder.
Maybe I'll catch you later.
Smoke walked on alone. Kwai did not turn around. He waited until his brother was standing next to him before looking up at him.
What do you want?
His brother wore his full blue uniform and his mask kept almost all his expressions under tight guard. Kwai received the single head jerk in response. He reluctantly followed behind as Sub-Zero led the way to their quarters. He banged the door open with a hand and stood by, waiting for Kuai Liang to enter first. A cold chill went down Kuai's spine that had very little to do with their joint Cryomancer heritage. As soon as he had entered, Kuai whirled around, backed away, and put his guard up. He had seen enough of Bihan's bad moods to know that this conversation might well start and end in violence. Sub-Zero slammed the door shut behind him. The room shot into darker shadows. The dying light of the sun came in half-hearted orange through a small window. Kuai instinctively hardened his guard by freezing layers of ice over his fists and forearms.
Allow me to help you.
There was nothing pleasant in his brother's voice. Sub-Zero reached out and Kuai started in horror as the ice on his fists and forearms collected faster and outside his control. A thin sheet spread between his raised arms and up past both elbows. This thickened until his arms were frozen hard together. He could feel the rapid speed of his heartbeat in his mouth as his eyes widened, and he looked up. He clamped his teeth together, refusing to give his brother the satisfaction of hearing his dismay. Sub-Zero came up close beside him. Kwai kept his breathing even and his eyes forward, arms hopelessly frozen stiff. He felt a hand slowly sit on the back of his neck. He closed his eyes just in time as his head was wrenched forward, shattering the ice, then forced back so that it cracked against the wall. The Kwai blinked white spots from his eyes and staggered away, lifting his guard to defend himself again. There was no follow-up attack. Instead, Sub-Zero stood, staring daggers into him.
What were you thinking?
Kwai knew exactly what his brother was referring to, but feigned ignorance.
What more do you want from me? I defeated Smoke. I did so with the clone you taught me. I executed it perfectly. It
Could not have even come to that.
Bihan's eyes were steel.
You held back, even with the Grandmaster watching.
because the Grandmaster was watching.
Kwai gave up the game and watched warily as fury ignited in his brother.
He judges his assassins based on chance matches he happens to see as he walks through a courtyard once every 6 months.
Bihan looked angry to burst. As Kwai continued, he tried to get the door angled behind him.
If I'd ended the match with Smoke at the first chance, Smoke would have had a hard time of it for months. I just prolonged my win for the best of both of us.
Sub-Zero was advancing on him.
Stop!
Kwai said, despite himself.
I know it was risky, but it was my risk to take. You don't have to look out for me all the time anymore. I'm a grown man.
A grown idiot.
It was just a one-off. I spar with Thomas all the time. I spar with Smoke all the time. I know his moves like the back of my hand. He's my fellow Lin Kuei. We're on the same side, and sometimes that means looking out for each other despite the rules.
To Kwai's surprise, Sub-Zero stopped his advance. Kwai searched in his eyes, looking for some kind of acknowledgement that might indicate the anger was dispelling. He instead found something colder.
And what if you and Thomas are no longer on the same side? What if one day he turns on you and you aren't ready because you put your trust in others and never where it should be?
He stepped forward, poked Kwai hard in the chest.
In yourself. That is all you can ever trust.
Kwai shook his head slowly.
I know what you're trying to protect me from, Bihan. Some of the other high ranks and we've heard about the initiative.
Sub-Zero's eyes narrowed. Kwai continued.
We're not going to let it happen. We're going to stand against it. I know you're against it too.
The last sentence was said to stall another fit of rage that looked like it was about to explode his way.
I know you are, Bihan. You spent too long perfecting all you do not. What?
There should be a comma after the do.
All you do not to oppose.
Okay. You spent too long perfecting all you do, not to oppose being mechanized. You've always followed the rules, but on your own terms. I don't believe you'll let them turn you into an unthinking machine.
Sub-Zero closed the space between them and brought his mask close to his brother's so that ice blue eyes met one another, and cold breath steamed from both sets of vents. Hello.
I'm just making sure that line is mine.
Okay.
The Grandmaster wants unthinking machines. I mean to show him he has one before he puts a single wire near me. It's people like you acting in such insubordinate ways as this that cause ideas like cyberization to
Yeah.
that cause ideas like cyberization to ever be floated.
Kwai's eyes flooded with relief.
I knew you were against it. No one else would believe me, but I knew you'd never let them.
Wai Lang.
Kwai fell silent. Sub-Zero withdrew and pulled himself up, folding his arms.
Follow my lead. Forget about your seditious friends and become as ice to all and everything. I cannot help you if you will not help yourself. Steel yourself to all emotion and weakness, and I will urge the Grandmaster to see that there are no improvements to be made to us.
But Bihan, what about Smoke? And Cyrax?
Sub-Zero let out strangled sound of exasperated fury. Kwai fell quiet in his corner.
What? What is wrong with you, Kwai Lang? How do you lack what every animal alive is born with? A basic level of self-preservation.
Kwai let the storm rage its worst for a while before daring a response.
I just want to make sure the others are alright too. If that's so bad, you would do the same for me.
Not at the cost of my own life.
Kwai watched them with uncertain eyes.
Enough of this. I don't want to hear a single word more of it. I already risk everything not reporting you and your cabal to the Grandmaster. If you have an ounce of sense in your head, you'll turn them over yourself and step up the first rungs of the ladder. I'm about to embark on an extremely important mission and more still after. I do not have time to constantly tell you to keep your head down, obey the Grandmaster, and keep the rules of the Lin Kuei. Your attitude changes here and now, or I am done with you. Do you understand?
Done with. You mean you tell the Grandmaster?
I said, do you understand?
Yes, Bihan.
He awoke to a livid, hot, burning sensation in the soles of his feet. He reached to them and felt the tender skin warm beneath his touch. He cooled the burned skin with a brush of frost and leaned back. He glanced warily over to the entrance and saw the wraith and his shadow sitting morosely, looking out the thin slit of the cave to the torturous world beyond. Kwai was tossed a nondescript chunk of charred meat by the specter. He took it without complaint and focused on his dream to keep from thinking about what he was consuming.
As I recall, you were good at tactical planning and using the environment against your opponents.
Kwai almost choked. He looked up in disbelief to see if this was some kind of joke at his expense, acknowledging Kwai's fortes. Okay, there's no like accent on the E, so I wasn't too sure.
I don't think there is.
There is an accent for forte. That's why it's pronounced that way. Had never featured in Bihan's preferred method of communication.
There is an old scar in the fabric of Netherrealm that I've been told is the easiest place to rip a portal through to the Chaos Realm. There was a portal there long ago, and reality is still frayed over that spot. Portals this big are usually beyond my power, but I have a ritual that will enhance my abilities and help me to tear through.
I resumed eating and watched his brother with careful, suspicious eyes.
The place is on high ground, but littered with old boulders, fallen pillars. Don't try it, Anakin. Littered with old boulders, fallen pillars, and stonework. In ages past, it was a temple to something. One side is sloped with a staircase cut into the side as a switchback path. On all other sides, there are steep drops into a narrow river of lava. The cliffs are small, though, and not unscalable to a dedicated foe. And neither does lava prove much of an obstacle to many of the residents of Netherrealm.
You almost said Nesidents, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I was like, this man almost said Nesidents.
Residents of the Nether Realm.
I was right there with you, though. I probably would have done the same thing.
I am so glad I'm not narrating this. What of the terrain? Is it hard and compact, loose and dusty?
It's hard, but only on the immediate baked surface. It could be broken up and made unstable.
How dry and hot is the area? Will my ice abilities be restricted? How long will it take for the ice to melt?
I'm not sure.
The Wraith admitted.
I cannot feel hot and cold in the same way I used to. It won't be anything like the temperature at the bottom of that volcanic crater, but I imagine any ice you summon won't last long.
Anything, anything else at all in the area that can be moved and used? You said stonework. Anything half standing and unstable? Any old steel? Bones?
I do not recall. We must get to the place and see. Relics from older wars and long dead pasts are not an uncommon sight in Netherrealm. I will need you to get on this as soon as we arrive. I must begin the ritual immediately. I am not sure how long it will take. I have a tight schedule to keep with Havoc, and the longer we take, the more likely it is we'll have a big fight on our hands before the portal is even open.
Understood. I am ready to depart when you wish.
Kwai tossed the bone he had stripped the meat from and fixed the heavy black mask over his face, pulling the cowl up over the top.
Remember, you also have the advantage of surprise. The confusion of your identity should work in your favor. You will also have Cybot working with you, though I will need him at points in the ritual.
Kwai looked at the shadow. She was always disturbed by the way the Wraith spoke, as if it were an entity of its own. He nodded, though.
Good. I am counting on you, Kuai Lang. Do not disappoint me again.
Noob Saibot got up and moved sideways through the narrow cave entrance. Kwai thought on those words as he followed him. They were very far removed from Bihan's fury last night, or in the memory recalled in his dream. He wondered what thoughts had been passing through his brother's head as Kwai slept. And that's the end of the chapter. Woo!
Oh wow. Okay. Huh.
You said
Well done.
okay, as if we haven't been consistently hitting 50 minutes for each chapter.
He's not used to episodes that actually end with at a decent pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm used to these being like an hour or two. Not. It's really weird.
Not sub 1 hour. Nah.
Yes. Yeah.
Enjoy them. Enjoy these while you can, Harry.
How many chapters
Consistency
is
is cool.
So that would okay.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many chapters
There's-
is this?
There are 2 more full chapters and a short epilogue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I thought this was longer than that. Oh my god.
Nope.
Okay.
That's the
Nope.
reason why I'm cool with going a chapter per episode.
We're gonna have to
you know?
find something new to read after this soon.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could. Again, I think I floated this idea before. Like we may just take a short break. I focus on personal stuff and maybe writing something again.
I mean, considering Christmas is coming up, I think we'd probably need that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
we
we can
got
do another
2
episode on
weeks.
Christmas again.
Yeah. It's time for the B Team Christmas episode.
Ah.
Let's go.
Oh gosh,
Team
yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's like the spin-off of the A-Team Christmas.
Oh my god.
You got Mr. Q instead of Mr. T. He doesn't pity anybody. He actually very much respects everybody he's around. That's the reason why he gives out Christmas gifts to every good boy and girl. That's Mr. Q, all right.
Yeah.
So,
Good stuff.
I've realized it feels like the like typos and stuff have been picking up for each chapter so far. I don't know if anybody else has realized that.
I don't pay attention to typos.
Well, like
Like, my idea is, like, it's fan fiction, it's going to have
Yeah,
something.
the thing is, my brain
Yeah.
just ceases to function when there's a typo, so I catch every single one of them. And I definitely realized them a lot more in that past chapter. I think in the
They're-
third chapter, I really enjoyed reading it, but man, oh man, were there some things that were tough to read.
There definitely were a few.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a little piece of advice.
And I also thought it was funny, they were spelling losing as loosing.
Hello?
Yeah, I noticed that every time losing was written, it wasn't losing, it was loosing.
It almost felt like it was being written by a different person because I feel like the writer for this is pretty good at what they're doing. So just seeing loosing instead of losing out of nowhere just blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the correct word.
What got me more is that it was every time.
Yeah. Yeah, like the first time I was like, okay, that could just be a typo, but then I saw loosing was said like twice
Yeah,
in one sentence. That was like, whoa.
Always go. Just honestly, I'm lazy. Like I need to probably just start getting people to. Again, I write on fanfiction.net. Like you can get a person to kind of just proofread your stuff.
I'm sure
As a
there's
side
some
note,
sort of
I am
spell check,
also-
but-
I am not. Well, spell check wouldn't get loosing versus losing.
I mean, it not
Loosey
unless it
goosey.
has the.
Maybe it would, because loosing isn't a word.
Yeah, it's loosening. Yeah. Maybe he'll just make it loosening though. Has to be.
Today's episode of Storytime with Scrappy is brought to you by Grammarly.
Are you a college student who needs to write essays? Well, have I got a deal for you.
You a college student who beat up the nerd in high school to get here? Well, I've got the perfect
Wow.
idea for you.
Grammarly.
God.
So yeah, I enjoyed this chapter. It was just kind of cool to get more in Sub-Zero's head and just see some interactions between him and his brother, basically right before the events of Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah,
Like,
I think this was my favorite chapter so
Sub-Zero.
far.
Like, yeah, as you could guess from the dialogue, yeah, the initiative is the Cyber Initiative from the Lin Kuei. Because in Mortal Kombat 3, the Lin Kuei Grandmaster decides that, you know what, having organic mooks is stupid, and we should just have robots.
Flesh is dumb.
Cyberization, baby.
Machines will do whatever I want.
Yeah, so, let's see. So yeah, you could hear Smoke and Cyrax, those are actual Mortal Kombat characters. They got turned into cyborgs in the third game.
Dang.
I see.
You got that smoke though.
Robot smoke.
Robo smoke.
So, yeah, the Grandmaster wanted just fully obedient soldiers, and then Sub-Zero basically wound up converting 2 of them anyways.
Huh.
You know what? I respect it. I respect the grind.
Are they like full robot or are they just like cyborgs?
Cyborgs.
Cyborgs. Even
I
cooler.
mean, it was the 90s, so there was just people in costumes. It looked like BMX predators, but they're supposed to be cyborgs.
Top.
They could have been like Darth Vader, you know? We talked about high ground earlier, okay?
High ground.
We did
ground.
mention high ground for one line.
Yeah. So clearly it's like a Star Wars situation. Yeah. You left them in the pit of lava, then some old evil man found them and put them inside a robo suit to keep them alive. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, then
Safety's
he
true.
yelled.
No.
No.
There is a loose Darth Vader analog in Mortal Kombat, but he's not a member of the.
Let's go.
Let's go.
He's not a member of the Lin Kuei.
Dang it. Or as far as we know, you never know. Who knows what that
Combat
Ryan Johnson
12.
trilogy's
Let's
gonna have.
go. Mortal Kombat 12 lore. Let's go.
Mortal Kombat 12, Darth Vader's a playable character, and then he breaks Scorpion's kneecaps. Oh yeah.
Speaking of Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
God.
exactly. Was it Soul Calibur 4?
Yes.
Yeah. Soul
Yeah.
Calibur's got some fun collaborations.
I always think of Link and Yoda.
Yeah, yeah. The idea of
Oh,
Link
yeah.
fighting Nightmare is so good to me. That's all I really gotta say.
Yeah, I don't really have anything.
Yeah, we hit 1 hour, so now I'm just cool to end it, you know, that's how I am.
Yeah, you know, I'm fine with that. I gotta order food.
Reach the one, stretch it out to the 1 hour mark, and then immediately end it like it's 20, like it's what 2009 YouTube.
Like it's the modern day and we're trying to get the full amount of money, but it's an hour instead of 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Nice.
So yeah,
I'm thinking
that's all.
more like Netflix original series. We gotta pad out an episode.
We gotta make sure this episode's 48 minutes somehow. Let's add a
When I
dance
don't
scene.
watch Netflix originals. How could anyone put themselves through that?
Yeah.
It's really painful. The only Netflix original I've ever enjoyed was Ultimate Beastmaster because that's a obstacle course show
Oh, that sounds fun.
that takes itself seriously. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all into this. Reminds me of good old Ninja Warrior. Love.
Anyway, that's about all I've got. Yeah, that's all I got. We'll probably resume this in a week's time.
Yep, yep.
Unless we get kidnapped by aliens or some crap.
Or unless Tanner is magically available.
That's a nice joke. Okay, today is the 12th of November in my time zone.
Future Mario Bros. Is never continuing.
It's never gonna end.
Mad.
Yeah, I'm gonna presume everyone's just gonna be like in a turkey coma on the 26th. So
That's the funniest phrase I've ever heard.
That's the American dream right there.
Yep, that's Americanisms.
Turkey coma. I'm gonna
Yeah,
start,
but
I'm gonna
but
start
like that's
using-
implying we're in a turkey coma for 2 days.
I'm
I
gonna
can
I'm
see
gonna
it.
start using that now. That's brilliant.
Yeah, whenever you talk to an American after American Thanksgiving Day, you know, that's just what we are. That's what we're in. If I say something weird like right after Thanksgiving, you know it's because I'm in a turkey coma. It's not me.
I think if you're in a turkey
spirit of
coma,
the
you're
turkey.
not saying anything.
No, 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 no. You see, it's the spirit of the turkey talking for me. It's not me, for real. If you so much of the turkey, I become the turkey. But the turkey
Yeah.
in me cannot speak.
He ate a funky part of the turkey, and now he is the turkey.
Yeah.
Strike turkey.
crazy.
So-
Ba, 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 ba.
so I won't bother you on the 26th. Might bother you on the Wednesday before, but
He'll
And I-
bother us on the 27th.
And I do. We don't have Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
so I guess we're doing another one-man episode.
God.
It's just gonna be Harry
Yeah.
breathing and playing at the same time.
Yeah, good luck, Harry. Good luck getting good luck getting Joey and Tanner to show up.
Yeah, that ain't happening. Joey maybe, but aye.
So honestly, I guess it's as good a time as good a time as any to just kind of lay out a loose plan for the rest of the year before we inevitably diverge from it. Okay, so today's the 12th in my time zone. 19th we'll probably read again, maybe. 26th probably not. So we probably will just read. We gotta read the day after, or we read like on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see.
And that'd be the finale, wouldn't it?
Of-
We'd be
of this
done with
month?
The Mortal Kombat story.
I assume.
Yeah, the 23rd of November.
Okay, because I
Oh
wasn't
my
sure if
God.
you meant this or December.
Skipping the entire not Christmas portion of December to record during the most Christmas oriented portion of the year.
When Ped said the finale, I thought the finale of story time.
Ending on
The
episode
final
82, a
episode.
classic. Final episode. We all hate each other now.
Like I
Storytime's
completely
over.
forgot it would take 2 more episodes to finish this story, and thought Pedriva meant story time is ending at
Ending.
Thanksgiving.
So we're
Okay.
wrapping things up. It's all it's gone.
I don't even know what a finale for Storytime would even entail.
We
One
run out of
involving all of us.
But you guys are Love Live nerds, so you could probably just like do Snow Halation or some shit like that.
Yeah.
we just sing
God.
Snow Halation and it's just a complete mess. If you
I-
try,
Look at this, as soon as
if you try, if you try making me sing Japanese, it's just gonna come out with as gibberish.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
how you
think I
know.
have-
That's how you know he's not a real weeb.
Not a
I think
real
I'm
love
supposed to
life.
actually sing that for a story down the line.
You started singing one of the intros for one of the episodes once.
That's true.
I need to show that after this because it was brilliant.
Awful. Yeah. No, story time isn't ending yet.
It'll never
We'll
end.
just-
It's not ending yet. It's not ending yet.
We're gonna record from our tombstones.
Recording story time from beyond the grave.
Like we
Yeah,
just
you see.
like it's Saturday like during a normal time, and then we just literally come out of our gravestones.
It's the only
We're-
time the dead rises every Saturday.
We're broadcasting from hell.
Oh
It's,
my gosh, and the first one we
zombie-
do would be Dead Rising. It makes so much sense.
It'll be Zombieland Saga, but for a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yo, are
gosh.
there any Zombieland Saga things we could read?
Oh no, I've never looked.
I'd have to watch Zombieland Saga first.
Haven't seen Zombieland Saga?
I
What the
didn't.
heck is wrong?
I told
There's-
I told a friend I'm thinking about watching Zombieland Saga, and then he said, "Sounds like an excuse to watch an idol anime," and then I never watched it.
so messed up, but it's kind of true. I mean, it is a
I-
parody, so.
It's funny. One of my friends tried watching it, but they quote unquote couldn't keep watching because they thought it was too cringy.
That's how I feel about Akiba Maid War right now. Harry's
so
seen me.
funny.
Harry's seen me talk about the first episode. That first
episode was
watching
so
it,
funny.
watching the first episode was miserable for me.
I couldn't
Yeah.
stop laughing. I couldn't believe it was a real thing. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, but
it's
but
actually happening right now.
Didn't you have to like
I-
keep leaving, like walking away from the computer?
yes, I got up from my fucking desk like 5 times.
That's amazing.
So
But
anyway, that's
I
for
managed to pull through, and now I'm keeping up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our plans for November. December. That'll be December 3rd. It's the first Saturday in the month. Yeah, I guess we'll read a new story. Or just not read that week.
We'll just cease to exist.
Vanish into the ether.
Yeah. I guess after we finish this Mortal Kombat story. After we finish this story in your shadow, I guess maybe we'll take a break. Maybe we'll. I don't know. I'll try to write something before Christmas. So yeah.
Good luck with that deadline.
I wrote a story in 18 days once. It can be done.
And be done.
Yeesh.
Ooh, a milk run story. That's fun.
A what?
A milk run story. You know, like someone who delivers milk.
Oh! I thought you were saying like there was some source material called Milk Run, and I'm like, what is
Milk
Milk
Run.
Run?
Is that the sequel
It
to
sounds.
Baby Run?
It's, oh my gosh!
I don't even.
It sounds like a seasonal anime.
I would not
Yeah,
be
it
surprised
is,
at this
yeah.
point.
It definitely would be a seasonal anime.
Clean 12 episodes from 2012.
They can make an
Probably
anime
have like a
about anything at this
6.5
point.
on my anime list. But yeah, there's a Zombieland Saga story about one of the characters being a milk delivery girl.
I do.
Okay then.
I don't remember the
Yeah.
premise of this, but I do remember at one point, me and Jerry like had this idea for an anime, but like I don't remember what it was, and it was like. I remember we were like very
She's got this
shocked.
anime girl who transfers to school, and she's got huge.
No, it was like I
Good
remember.
guys, yes.
I remember we were like so like shocked that like our premise like didn't exist yet. And I hate myself because I don't remember what it was.
You think Joey would be able to remember?
Maybe
might.
I'll try and ask him later.
So yeah, that's about all I've got. So yeah, take care of yourselves, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got. Do you want
Yeah.
me to stop the stream?
Yep, bye bye.
To brush your teeth.
Yeah, bye.